Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Stories That Inspire Us with Janice. My name is Janice, and I am your host. Today, I have an amazing guest on, and her story, although it's in the kitchen right now, and I'll get to that in just a moment, it's more about her story behind the story. So without further ado, let's dive right on into it. Kristy, I want to welcome you. And Kristy, by the way, is from Kristy from Clean Eating with Kristy.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here. I'm excited to chat.
Wonderful. And I'm excited to chat with you. And we just had a little bit of a chuckle before we hit the go live button where Kristy said, okay, you stick with the podcast stuff and I'll stick with the cooking. And I said, you've got it. Absolutely. So Kristy, I've never heard of, and I think this is just flipping amazing. Okay. A certified kitchen confident coach specializing in nutrition and meal prep.
Yeah.
Wherever did that come from?
So it came from that I realized women are not confident in the kitchen at all. Yeah. And it's so funny how we have to be in the kitchen every single day. We have to eat, whether we have families or not, depending on us, we still have to eat. And so what started out as being a health coach, then I transitioned into, no, I am much more than that. I am a kitchen confidence coach because what I do specifically is I teach women how to be confident in the kitchen. And so they don't have anxiety when it comes to mealtime. They're not stressed and overwhelmed because what I do is work behind that. And then I'm able to show them easy ways to eat healthy, to meal prep, to do all the things that they know they should be doing, but don't know how to start. And that is where the kitchen confidence coach piece came into it.
That is fantastic because I don't know, just as an online entrepreneur myself and recently niching down my VA business. I have two businesses, one with my sister and my VA business, of course. You niche down in such a way where maybe somebody else may not have noticed that, which I want to read this information that you had in your bio, which will kind of segue into what we're all chatting about here.
Yep.
And this is very profound. The problem was the food I turned to was empty in calories and void of nutritional value. There's a story behind that story.
There sure is. There sure is. Yeah. So I was raised, and sometimes you don't realize these things until you're older, right? Looking back at everything. And I was raised in a family where food was around us all the time. If we were happy, we ate. If we were sad, we ate. When something good happened, we ate. When something bad happened, we ate. And most times it's the moms that are showing their children the diets that they're on or the meal replacements, that they're eating. But in my case, it was my dad. And my dad was constantly, he was on Weight Watchers. He was, losing weight and then gaining it back as fast. And I was always kind of categorized in our family as I took after my dad, meaning I was heavier, and I'm doing quotes here for those that can't see, right? Heavier and big boned. My brother was the thinner one, and he took after my mom's side. And so this kind of stuck with me through everything. And what I learned through it was that, okay, food can fill me, it can fill that void, whatever that looks like. And then I was constantly on the cycle of diets and trying to lose weight, trying to be thin, a rice diet, literally just eating rice, things like that. And when I was in my first marriage, very young, it was very toxic. And at that point, I was turning to food. And I was just filling myself with food because I was lonely, I was empty, searching for the love, and also being a single mom, or being a mom as well. When I left the marriage, I found myself now all of a sudden single mom, trying to survive. And again, empty and lonely and sad and depressed and all of those feelings. What did that bring up? The feeling of I can fill myself with food. And that's what I did. And I gained 60 pounds, 65 pounds. And it was on my 30th birthday when I took a picture, and I looked at myself and I did not recognize the girl in the picture. It was, I didn't know who she was. She wasn't happy. She didn't feel comfortable in her clothes. I knew that because I was the one wearing them, and I was like, I don't want to be this person. I want to feel good about myself. I want to be happy. I want to be able to play with my daughter, just kind of all of these things. And I also wanted to start my life over again, right? Like those are all the things that come after a divorce and what that was. And the only thing I knew was that it had to start with my food, because that was the thing that I was turning to. And so that is where I took a real deep dive into what am I eating? Where can I go for help? I saw my dad doing Weight Watchers forever, and that didn't work. I saw that, and so what can I do? And it became a point where, because I felt like I had lost control out of everything pretty much in my life, with my marriage, with how I was eating, it turned into then a thing of control. If I control my food and prepping my food, I can control how I look and how I feel. And so that is how I moved into the space of meal prepping and being able to, well, at least I can control this, right? I can control my food. I can control what I'm taking. And I started to feel better. The weight started to come off. And then I found myself being able to do other things that I, wasn't able to do before, and incorporated fitness and all that piece of it, but really truly started with food and how I was eating it and what I was eating.
And that is so vitally important, because I know for
Mhm.
myself, I think we chatted about this, I was very heavy, like really heavy. When I sat around the house, I sat around the house.
Right.
And I'm not poking fun at myself. It's just a way for me to look back on my journey with respect, and know that, I was at that point, of course, and I'm sure you can relate to this obviously as well, that I looked in the mirror. Like when you said you looked in the mirror and you didn't recognize a person looking back at you, you were describing my journey, as I'm
Mhm.
sure is the journey of many women. For me, of course, it was food. For instance, I have often chatted about I can't be trusted around a bag of chips. But I had to look at
Yeah, me too.
this day. But
Yeah.
I had to look at food. Not only was I looking at the food that I was consuming and started to keep, a record of what I was doing, but I had to logistically think, okay, I've been on every flippin' diet. At that time, my marriage was tanking, my first
Mhm.
marriage. And I don't know how to cook. So I ended up going, after I lost a little bit on my own, ended up going through Jenny Craig. But
Mm.
for me, what I did not do was say, I have to go on another diet. I'm
Right.
like, I am not doing that. And for me, that was like when I hear the word diet, to this day, I cringe.
It's hard.
So,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, because we do, and especially in our culture today, when you were describing, as a child, you ate when you were happy, we ate when we were sad, different family occasions or whatnot, we eat. And certainly in my Italian heritage, it was the same thing.
Mhm.
So you're at that point in your life where we're chatting about your single mom, and you really had to look at your situation like, holy crap, I need to do something here.
Mhm.
What was, and I know that you said, as I just mentioned, that you looked in the mirror. Was there something else at you that was a determination, like, I can do this? Like,
Yeah.
what was that like for you?
I think for me, that's a great question, right? Coming from a place of sitting across the room from my ex-husband and him telling me that he didn't love me anymore. For me, I wanted to be a person that somebody could love and that somebody could look at and be proud of being with, right? I think that was like, when we go deep down, right? That's what it was. And I just wanted to look pretty. I wanted to feel good. I didn't want to have to like suck in when I'm doing my jeans up. I wanted to feel good. And then also too, though, looking at my dad, who was unhealthy, I didn't want to end up like that. I didn't want that. And I specifically remember, so you said Jenny Craig.
Mhm.
Mine was, and this was back before, phones and like Google and all that thing, went to Barnes and Noble and I bought the hard copy of the South Beach Diet book. That was my map. And it was $15.95. I remember it because, again, a single mom, like I counted my pennies and went through the back and I was like, perfect. There's a meal plan here. I can follow this. I'm very much of a visual person. So you tell me what to do. I can do it. I remember asking my dad, I said, hey, Dad, I'm going to, and at the time it was a diet, right? So I said, I'm going to do this diet. Do you want to do this with me? And he said, no, Kristy, I'm good. I'm good. And I was like, that was it. I was like, nope, you're not good. And I want more for me. And so it became just, this is what I have to do. I'm going to figure this out. And the food that I have to say in the South Beach diet, it was delicious. I learned some really great recipes. And then I was able also to, because it was a plan, I could fit that in with my budget and be able to handle that. But it was that feeling of, yeah, I just want somebody to look at me and like say they love me. And then when my dad said no, I was like, that's it. That is it. I need to do something different. I'm going, and I didn't know at the time, right? But now I look back and I'm like, okay, I'm changing my family's patterns, right? Changing my trajectory of my family. Back then, I just wanted to do things differently, but now being aware of everything, that's what's happening.
Right. And that was so important as to, I would think, how you decided to be a certified kitchen and confidence coach,
Mhm.
specializing in the nutrition and meal prep, because a lot of people, for instance, if I have a plate of chicken in my refrigerator, I look at it and go,
What do I do?
great. Now what do I do?
Right.
Now
Yeah.
I have a little thing on the side that I do, which I cannot divulge because I would be giving away my secrets, just saying. But, now I am so much better with that, whereas, especially a single mom, but I'm sure even couples together, being young parents, and so much going on these days, to have the confidence to say, do the meal prep part, maybe it's something as simple as prepping your veggies for the week.
Yeah. Right.
Simplicity.
That's it. It's simple. And I'm a mom. My oldest, who she's 23, she was the one that was kind of with me through all of my, my journey, and she's seen everything. My youngest is 8. So I'm busy. I am busy. I'm, having my own business and all of those things. And it's simple. And one of the things that we get tied up with is we see these beautiful meal prep pictures on Instagram, right? And the Amazon boxes, and it should look like this, and it should be like this. Or then you have the other side where it's like steamed broccoli, chicken, and rice, and that's what you're going to eat for the week. And I was just telling somebody, like, I enjoy food. I love food. I still, to this day, am controlled by food. I want to know what I'm eating. I want to know when I'm eating, and I want to know where I'm eating. But the difference is now I'm able to, because of like stepping outside of my comfort zone too and exploring different foods. It's different food, but I want it to be unboring for people. I want it to be unboring for moms. And my biggest piece of it is I don't want there to be a mom meal and a family meal. If it's good enough for the family or the mom, we should all eat it together, because that is how you are going to change the patterns in your family. If the mom is always eating, a little salad with some grilled chicken on top, what are the girls seeing? What is the family seeing? Right? So I bring everything together, and I do not coach and teach on this is your meal, this is the family's meal. What I do is I create meals, I create things in the kitchen that everybody can eat together and experience, because there is so much of the children not being involved and don't know what it is. And even moms, right? Some women aren't raised in the kitchen. They didn't see their moms cooking. So now we're in a position of crap. Now I've got to cook for my whole family. What do I do? Right. And we're expected to kind of know that. So all of that is wrapped into what I do and my philosophy in the kitchen itself.
Wow. So I have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Well, actually I have quite a few. When a client comes to you and they're like, I imagine myself back then, I imagine I would be like bewildered and really like frightened. And what is the process that you take them through? Like, do they fill out like a program or something that, their likes and dislikes? Like, for instance, I don't like seafood.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I mean, and it's funny because everybody kind of has their tendencies and everybody has foods that they don't like. I will take those into consideration. And, we will chat about that, obviously, based on your lifestyle and your family. But so I have different programs that I teach outside of my one-on-one coaching as well. And what I find is my one-on-one coaching, the women who come to me for that are specifically ones like myself who have been through either emotional eating in the past or all the diets and the roller coasters, and they want some kind of sustainability. They want to be able to just live normally without having to count their macros and having to, count all their calories and all of these things. And so the glory of that is there's a lot of mindset piece behind that as well. And working with just being aware and those aha moments that we get when we're like, oh yeah, that's why I never had vegetables growing up, because my mom never cooked them, right? And so now I don't know how to cook them. And then what I'm able to do in that is pull different pieces of my other programs out. I actually have a kitchen confidence program. That's what it's called, Kitchen Confidence. And it is a very basic 6-week program. And every week is a new area in your kitchen that we kind of tackle and we set you up with so that you are ready at that end of 6 weeks to really do some cooking and feel confident about what you have in the kitchen. Because a lot of times we also have unnecessary things in the kitchen, right? Like we see, I can't tell you how many people I work with that have Instant Pots in the box. still boxed up and they're afraid to use it because they've never seen it, or they bought it because their best friend has it and it's been this amazing thing, but they're not using it. And so what that does is, not only does that take up space in your kitchen, it also takes up space in your brain, because every time you walk by that, you say, oh, I should use that. I'm going to go on Pinterest. I'm going to search for 20 minutes, find different Pinterest recipes, put them on my board. I'm never going to use them, right? But they're going to be there for that event that I do it. How much time have we wasted with that? And so those are the things that, like, we need to unclutter, just get down to the basics, so that you can feel confident in your kitchen without rolling your eyes every time you walk by that one thing in your kitchen that you can't stand. So
I love how you describe that, because as you were saying that, I'm thinking of clearing the clutter. And then you said clutter, and that is so true. So if you're walking by that gadget that your dad had, and it's got like 5,000 attachments, and it's still sitting on your shelf, where like every time you walk in, it's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Not that's me. I'm just, you know, that's a for instance.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But so
It's
you're
somebody in somebody's house. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would imagine, as somebody is taking your kitchen confidence course, some part of that may be, I would assume, like staples based on their likes and maybe allergens and that sort of thing, staples on what you should have in your kitchen.
Yeah, I actually, so I provide, in whatever you do with me, whether it be meals or the Kitchen Confidence Program, Flavor University, whatever that looks like, I always will provide you lists, whether it be a grocery list, a pantry list. These are the things that you need to have. And what I find is, when we pare down to what we actually need, we can really understand and think a lot more, right? We think, like, one of the worst culprits is those spice racks that come with like 25 different spices on them.
Mm-hmm.
What are they, and what are you going to use them? Like, really, you're going to use 10 maybe of those spices if you take a look at all of the recipes across the board, because if you're not confident enough, you're not going to be making curries and exotic dishes that these spices are for. We have to start somewhere. And so that's actually that's my very first week in Kitchen Confidence, is pantry overhaul, and setting you up with exactly what you need. And I guarantee you, if you go through the recipes that you have pinned, 9 out of 10 of those recipes will include everything that is on my pantry list, because they're basics and because they're staples. And we don't need that one spice that we think we need, and going to the grocery store. So there's a lot to be said about just kind of putting your blinders on and focusing and paring down, because your kitchen is different than my kitchen. And, then your neighbor's kitchen, and what your lifestyle is, especially if you're not used to cooking, right? We don't need all of those things. What we do need is to be confident with the basic things that we have, so then we can start to use other things, but we have to go back to the basics.
And I would imagine as well that the refrigerator, there's got to be at least 2 modules on that.
Yes. It's interesting because, so the refrigerator, I mean, is like a cemetery for a lot of food, right? Like, it just kind of goes there to die.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
That's it, right? Yeah. Think about your crisper, right? At the end of the week, you're like, oh, it's the celery, it's the spinach, it's the pepper that got stuck at the back that I didn't eat. And then in addition to that, it's all the Tupperware that's in there. And the Tupperware takes up space in our brain as well, because we don't know what's in there. So we have to spend time opening it up. And then we're like, I don't want to eat that. And so then you go to the store and you get something else, bring it back, put it in a Tupperware. And so what I do is again, just paring down and keeping it very simple so that the only thing that you're going to the store for is what you need, right? And there's a difference between what you need and what you think you need. What we think we need accounts for the 4 boxes of pasta that are up in your pantry that you haven't used yet, or the stalk of celery that you think you're going to use, but when you don't prep it and get it ready to go, it still sits there and you're not going to use it. So that also leads to wasting of money, which a lot of my resources go back to me being a single mom too, and just not having the extra money to waste. So teaching you skills so that you can make sure that you're getting the most out of your grocery trips and not having to go back again. But just prepping. And like you said before, like simple prepping of your vegetables. One of the things that I recommend my clients do is before you put your food away like when you come home or when it's delivered, however you get your groceries, take 5-10 minutes and cut up the vegetables, cut up the watermelon so that when you want a snack or when you're going to use it, it's there ready to go, because cutting fruits and vegetables is probably the number one time sucker in your kitchen because it takes time.
I totally agree with that. We have
Yeah.
a garden on the other side of the circle, which is a huge garden, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband came in yesterday with 2 huge things of lettuce, and that takes time. Like I have to wash everything off, dry it, cut it up and prep it. And it does take time. It is kind of a pain in the butt, but think of it this way. We're getting fresh vegetables, and the storage of it too is really important to have the necessary tools for that. Which brings me to another question. What is your favorite tool in the kitchen?
Ooh, my favorite tool in the kitchen. I mean, again, I keep things very basic. I don't have anything crazy. So I have one favorite knife that I use to chop. And I use my potato masher for everything. So I use it for, like, it's just one of those steel potato mashers, very basic. I use it when I'm making guacamole. I will mash the avocados with that. I use it obviously for potatoes. I use it for even when I'm cooking ground meat. You can use that to break it up so it's even. And it's very, very versatile. You don't need, 100 different things for that. But I have to say, it's not necessarily a tool. It's kind of an appliance. The Instant Pot. That is my go-to. It is my baby. I do everything in it, from hard-boiled eggs to making a big batch of rice to cooking my dinner in it. It's like all across the board for me.
Wow. My favorite thing in the kitchen is my coffee pot.
Yeah. Well, there's that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what is Flavor University all about?
Flavor University is one of my favorite things. Can you tell I'm smiling right now?
I know, you're like, and for those of us who can't, see her, you're listening to the audio of the podcast. Her face is like lit up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah. So Flavor University came out of my first group with Kitchen Confidence, because we finished the 6 weeks together, and then they looked at me literally with their hands up and they were like, okay, Kristy, now what? And I had no idea what I was going to do. And then I said, how about we meet again for 6 weeks? And now we take what we did with the Kitchen Confidence, and now we actually have cooking classes. So it's virtual cooking classes. You essentially get to cook with me. And what we do, again, because everything I want to do is to help you make your life simple in the kitchen. So for each week, we meet for no more than an hour and a half. Usually it was like about an hour and 15 minutes. We made 2 meals during that time. We prepped and we cooked them. And every week was designated for a different protein. So beef, poultry, seafood. We even did a vegetarian week. But the idea behind it was to break out of the normal Taco Tuesdays, chili, grilled chicken, and to expose them to different ways to prepare their food that their family would enjoy it, but are like normal, simple ways, right? Like I'm not a gourmet chef. I will never be one, but what I do like to do is feed my family really well with delicious flavors. And so we then took all those spices and all of those things that we talked about, and we put them together and we cooked together. And if you are, in any way apprehensive about being in the kitchen or don't want to do it, there's something about cooking with a group of women together and asking questions together, and being able to then at the end of the night, not only have dinner for your family for that night, but you also have another meal already prepped and ready to go. And it was the coolest thing because some of the kids were helping their moms in the kitchen. We had husbands that were telling their wives that it tasted like restaurant-like meals. It was so delicious. And not only that, the pride that came out of these women who had never cooked tofu before. And I chose tofu specifically because it is something that you will walk by in the grocery store and you have no idea what that is. So I'm not going to pick it up and I'm not going to cook it. But we did a curry with it in an acorn shell with like a Thai curry sauce. And one of the participants, she had said, I don't like to order curry when I go out to restaurants because I don't know what it tastes like and I don't know what's in it. She said, now I know what's in it because I just made it and I can now explore different flavors.
So they're not only expanding their flavors, they're expanding their minds, their nutrition in a whole new way.
Yeah. And it was, for me, that is essentially what I want to do, right? Is I want these, like, I want any woman that I work with to be able to say, look what I did. I made this dinner. Like I did this all by myself. And so at the end of the 6 weeks, they actually had 12 different recipes that they had made that they could go back and use and do on repeat, or, and the conversation that comes when you're cooking in the kitchen, right? It's not just standing there chopping vegetables. You get to talk about it and you get to express, and explore and kind of do all of those things. So that Flavor University is one of my favorites. And it just really, it brings to light, you come into it very apprehensive and like, okay, Kristy, I trust you. What are we going to do with this? And then at the end of the night, you're creating this amazing meal for your family. You're like, yeah, I can do this. I did this. I can do this.
And as you said, the pride that they feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah. I even had another woman who said, Kristy, I have never made soup if it doesn't come out of a can. And we made our own chicken soup with ginger and turmeric. And it was the most delicious thing. And her family even came in and was like, Mom, what are you doing? Like they weren't used to seeing her in the kitchen doing those things. And then she got to present to them this amazing meal. So for me, I think that's the joy that I feel is like, I get to show these moms who have families, right? They have families, they have kids. And now they're learning how to make fresh, clean meals for their family that they feel good about. It's so different than ordering DoorDash, right? There's no pride in that, right? Anybody can pick up a phone and do that. And you go through the cycle of laying in bed at night and really wanting to feed your family better and saying you're going to start it the next day, but not knowing where to start. And so that's what I help you do.
What is your favorite spice?
Oh, that's a good one. My favorite spice is curry.
Ah,
I could eat curry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I will use it as often as I can. Love it.
and what would be your favorite condiment?
Mm, that's a good question. I would say either hummus
Oh,
or like tzatziki. I'm not like a ketchup and mustard, like mayonnaise. I don't really eat a lot of that, but hummus and tzatziki, because I do like to cook Mediterranean and, have all of those flavors. So those are condiments for me.
I love the flavored hummus, the dark chocolate hummus.
Yes.
Boy, I use that as
So good.
the and I have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, so I use
Okay.
that as the frosting, like if I want to make a gluten-free cake.
Yeah.
So
So
good.
good.
So
So good.
final question, delivery charges to North Haven, Connecticut.
Well, I'm not that far, so I am in New Jersey. So yeah. You know what is funny though? I don't cook for other people. I teach you how to cook so that you can cook yourself.
And that's what it's all about. And
Yeah.
seeing you discuss today's topic, but more importantly, like you were totally integrated into that. The expressions from your face, how your face lit up, the pride that you felt
Mm,
from your clients having their own pride, like, wow, I
yeah.
cooked something pretty amazing for myself and my family. That is priceless. And these are the stories that inspire us.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I finally am at that point where I can say that I am changing women's lives, and I'm doing it through food in the kitchen. It took me a long time to understand that, but when I see the women in front of me truly saying these things, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I am doing. I am making their lives easier. I'm changing their lives because now they have so many other options for their families. And it's no longer a wishing of wanting, to feed their family better. It's they actually get to do it. And I get to be the catalyst for that and help them do that. So it's fun. I love it. I love my job. I absolutely love my job.
And we can tell. Now, Kristy, how can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
Yeah, so the best way is actually on Instagram. So it's just Kristy. It's actually just, sorry, Clean Eating with Kristy, and it's clean with a K and Kristy with a K. So I've kind of kept it simple that way, but Clean Eating with Kristy, and then message me. I love messages. I love questions. And my link is up on there as well. So it lists all of the things, but a lot of times women don't know what they need. And so I like to have those conversations first and be able to really guide you and work with you in that piece of it. So.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that information. And I, of course, will make sure that's in the show notes. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, sharing your story, how you were inspired by your backstory, the backdrop of where you came from, and how you cultivated your own story that inspired you to inspire others. Oh, gosh.
I love that. I love the way that you just phrased that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Folks, we've all had those instances where going into the kitchen at night, maybe staring at that thing that's still on the counter. I'm not talking about myself, by the way. But looking in the refrigerator and having that confidence, I really want everyone to re-listen to this podcast and take yourself through that journey. You have a journey, you have a story. And if you have a story, you need to contact me. This is what Stories That Inspire Us is all about. And today I was inspired by Kristy. And she still has not filled me in on what delivery charges to North Haven, but I'll chat with her after the podcast. Thank you all so much for being here today. I am blessed and grateful. And as everyone knows, I was inspired by my son, Ryan Scott. Thank you all so much. Come back. And if you have a story to share, go to my website and register as a guest. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you again real soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.